to the third and final episode in my mini-series on presence and its importance in deepening our writing lives. I'd like to open us today with a quote from the psychologist Albert Rossi in his book, Becoming a Healing Presence. He writes, "When we descend into our heart, we discover who we are and where we are going." That same descent into the heart, that same sense of self-discovery is what it means to be a present writer. What we learn about ourselves, the unique way in which we approach the world. When we know these things, we can write with a greater sense of vibrancy, of texture, of meaning. I want us to do a two-part short exercise today. So if you need to grab a piece of paper or want to watch it through and come back to this later, I would love to invite you to do that. This two-part exercise is going to be a way at deepening our ability to portray characters, characterization. When I say character, I mean a personality that could be human or otherwise. They could be real or fictitious. It doesn't matter. So the first half of this exercise in characterization is that going inward, that self-discovery. We're going to answer 3 simple questions, kind of with a brainstorm, and then use those to apply them to writing more textured, more fully embodied characters. All right, so number 1. This one's about us. What unique attributes do you notice about people? Pause the video. List as many unique attributes you just happen to notice as you can think of. I've done this exercise with undergrad students and they've come up with things like, I notice people's scent, or I notice the first couple of words they say. For those who thought, I don't really necessarily notice physical features, came up with things such as, I can listen to multiple conversations at one time and follow all of them. So your unique ability to tune into attributes is going to be very particular to you. For me, a lot of times the things that come up in this kind of list are what someone wears the first time I meet them. I always remember. Or people's hands. The energy that come out of their hands, whether that be in a handshake or the way they touch other people or objects, just stands out to me. All right, let's look back at the list of attributes of the things that we notice. Pick one. And write under that attribute what it tells you about people or about a particular person. I think about how my sort of frivolous way of noticing what people wear in the beginning ends up for me being an accumulation of clues about who that person is. I think about a friend, I'll call the friend Shay, who the first time I met them was wearing this button down that was satiny and had this really elaborate pattern. And then as I got to know Shay better, the button downs kept reappearing, but with different textures, organic textures with wooden beads or knits. And I found out that Shay really loves vintage clothing and the emotion, the expression that these really unique and specific patterns share with the world in their perspective. So how does something that you notice tell you about that person? All right. That's A. Now B, what do the things you notice, maybe pick another attribute, what does it reveal about you? So for me, I think about my hands thing. I can remember being 4 and 5 and noticing hands, and probably it started because I was so small and, I couldn't really see people's faces. I just saw their hands and what they were doing with them. And I remember thinking about the emotion that were people expressed in their hands, which is very odd, but I think especially the way parents use their hands with their children. Maybe they touch them lovingly. Maybe they were harsh, and then I would feel very like judgy and didn't like that parent. But I always had a sense, ever since I was little, of like the emotions that hands conveyed. So maybe for you, like, what does the thing you notice? What does it tell you about yourself? All right, so what do we notice? The second, when it comes to people, what's your blind spot? What's the thing you don't notice? I'm sure we've all been in a group, and afterward, we're maybe with a friend or something, and they say, oh, so-and-so said something so funny, or they did something rather odd, and you think, I don't remember that at all. So what are your blind spots? Take a minute, list some of the things that are harder for you to notice about people. 3, what do you want to notice? What do you want to notice? Now this one can seem kind of odd. Like, you don't want to, be creeping on people and staring them down. It's not that. This is something that I became aware of several years ago when I met this amazing woman from New York City who is part of a nonprofit, an organization who served and supported and cared for women in crisis. And she told me, and I could feel this as she was saying it, that her personal goal and the goal that they really fostered in everyone that worked in this organization was that when they talked to an individual, they saw that individual as if they were the only person in the world, as if they were the most special person in the world. And they gave them that kind of attention and looked at them with those kind of eyes. And I thought, oh wow, that really raises the bar and, how we notice people. So maybe it's something like that in a way that you want to notice people, or maybe it's even something smaller. Or maybe for some of us, it can be a way that we used to notice, but that we have failed to notice or we've forgotten, maybe when we were children or just in another chapter of our lives. I think about when I was a child and when I lived close to my family, and I could have told you all the very specific, unique colors in each of the irises of each of my siblings. And I have a lot of siblings. There are 7 of us. So many nights, the 6 of us would be lined up in front of a long mirror, like practically brushing our teeth in synchronization. And my one partner in crime, one of my brothers, we often enjoy torturing everyone by like lining them up and comparing features. So it'd be like, who has the darkest circle around their iris? And how many colors are in your eye? Or it would be, say, okay, what kind of curve is your earlobe? We were quite strange. Or we'd like try and push everyone toward getting onto the bathroom scale until someone, ran to mom and dad and said, they're torturing us again, they're harassing us, please stop them. Anyway, with maturity, I've learned to give my siblings their, respect their personal space. But I think I've also lost that like delight in knowing who they are very uniquely. And that's something that I can bring back as an adult in a mature, kind way. So what is that thing for you that you used to notice about people that you would like to notice again? Now take both of your lists, or your one list, and we're going to take out another piece of paper as a second list. And here's the part that goes to characterization. So we're going to write a parallel number for each of these 3 questions and apply them to our characters. It has been life-changing for me to think of characters as real people, and not as someone that I'm building, not someone that I have to, find out their deepest secret or their hidden desire. Kind of those lists that we, Google and find how to create a character, and there's these very specific lists. But digging into how I notice people, or just treating a character as a real person, has been life-changing for me. So let's apply the ways that we notice people to characters. So maybe think of a character in something you're writing right now. Maybe one that's particularly flat or elusive. So number 1, look at your first list of unique attributes that you notice about people. Do you notice that attribute in your character? Can you notice it? What is it? Sometimes we do this, but sometimes we don't. Sometimes the ways that we look at people in our everyday experience is not how we come to our writing. So try to ask that same question about your character. What does that attribute tell you about your character, about the way they approach the world? Number 2, what don't you notice in real life? That what don't you notice, apply that to your character. Is there something you're not noticing about them? A lot of times what we don't notice about a character can become this really interesting negative space, and it can even be a space that can give this sort of sense of mystery, something that we have to learn and figure out, and maybe will be revealed to ourselves and our readers at the end of a book. Or perhaps it's something we should pay attention to earlier on, and it will help us to fill in details that we would have otherwise missed out on. 3, look at your list, either for a goal or something from your past, a way that you want to notice again. Start doing that with your character. How can you notice something different about them, something that you haven't noticed before? If any part of this exercise brought up something new for you, if it helped you to think about your character or see them in a new way, to see yourself in a new way, then I would really love to invite you to join my class, The Present Writer, that starts very soon. It will go over the 4 weeks of August. Registration is now finally open. I would love to also offer anyone who signs up in the first week a bonus session to the class where we will look at your writing, what you want to write, and how to be more deeply present to that. That will pair well with learning different ways to approach different areas of writing and go deeper in them each class day, as well as doing inside and outside of class simple exercises like this, and also having time for plenty of question and answer so that the material, the area of writing that we're looking at in class, you can apply it and translate it to whatever projects you're working on. If right now in your writing life, if you're feeling stuck, like you can't go any deeper, if you are feeling disconnected from yourself or from your characters, if you don't know how to begin again, this class is for you. I would love to have you join. Even if you feel like you're in a pretty good place with your writing, but you're just feeling really isolated right now, this class will be an intimate place where kind writers come together to go deeper in mindfulness, to go deeper in courage, and into the messiness that any true multidimensional story engages. Thank you so much for your time. I look forward to hearing from you soon. Take care.